Alright, welcome back. After a meal, some people tend to head to the bathroom while others prefer to relax for a bit. It seemed that several people had left the parlour, just like I did when I went to the kitchen to drink some water. In the end, Aunt Natsuhi reluctantly retracted her order that everyone remain packed into the parlour. She is packing some heat. On the condition that no one headed out on their own or strayed too far. In any case, if 11 people are shut up in the same room starting early in the morning, the air will start to stagnate. Also, quite some time had passed, so everyone was starting to recover from the shock of that morning, and their sense of danger might have been weakening too. However, it was a certain fact that 6 people had been killed inside this mansion. So, no one was completely negligent. So whenever they went out into the hallway for a breath of fresh air, trying to act tough, they would quickly get scared of standing there, isolated, and would eventually return to the parlour. I guess it's like the north wind and the sun. If you force someone to stay shut in, they'll resist, but if you tell them to do whatever they want, they'll come back obediently. People really do not like doing what they're told. When the servants finished cleaning up from the meal, Kumasawa-san is looking oddly excited. They returned obediently to the parlour, just as Aunt Natsuhi had told them to, and sat on a sofa near the entrance, patiently awaiting orders. Maria, almost as though she had suddenly finished playing witches, had returned to the pure Maria I knew as well, saying ooh ooh. What in the world happened back there? I hadn't felt even an atom of the presence of this person called Beatrice, who was supposedly standing behind me, invisible. However, it felt like I'd glimpsed a little of that presence inside Maria. You're right. When Maria starts talking about witches, her personality changes. Battler-kun, you also saw it down by the beach yesterday, right? You mean that scorpion keychain? No, I don't mean like when her feelings were hurt. I'm talking about her having a dual personality or something. Yeah, that happens sometimes too. That thing Maria did when she was talking about the magic circle does happen every now and then. It's freaky though. She's 9. Apparently, Jessica had spotted that Kihihi Maria a few times. I just happened to catch it at a bad moment and was pretty freaked out seeing it for the first time. So what is that? Does Maria have a dual personality or something? Or are you saying that her spiritual sense really is that strong and she's being possessed by a spirit or whatever? No, I don't think it's that. Haven't you ever experienced it? When you were small, didn't you ever want to be someone other than yourself? All the time. When humans are born, no one has any individuality. However, when they reach their growth period, their sense of self starts to be born. They want to be different from other people. But since everyone else in their class is learning the same things at the same rate and being forced into the same lifestyle, of course they aren't going to find anything that makes them different from everyone else around them. Once they realize that, the first thing they do is start breaking the rules, in what's called their rebellious stage. Since everyone else follows the rules, they want to show off their individuality by breaking them. So even those who try to act tough, mocking everyone around them and calling them childish, can actually be viewed as cute kids searching for themselves, if you look at it this way. Well, I'm lecturing about all this like I'm so smart, but I actually got it secondhand from George Anarchy. I myself was one of those embarrassing guys who thought it was cool to act like a little bastard. Well, that was when I was at the age where you try to show off for the opposite sex. The main feature of the growing period lies in an impulse to break away from your life as a child, like a chick trying to crack open the shell of their egg. Do you know what makes children and adults different? Age. Age. Battler literally said that as it was coming out of my mouth. Or do you mean size? No, it's experience. Adults can look down on children because children have very little life experience. George Anarchy, you know that's not right. The reason they snort at everything children say is because they think kids know nothing about the real world. Yeah, I understand that. When you're a kid, you talk like you've got life all figured out somehow, trying to act like an adult. No matter what kids say, adults just snort them and snort at them. I was going to say, snort them? What the hell? And say they're too naive or that they'll understand when they get older or something. Well, it's probably true, but to a kid, it's just annoying. Like they're being looked down upon. I get it. It's a question of knowledge and experience. Well, I guess you're right that there's no reason to respect a person for their age if they've just wasted their lives. Therefore, during the period when they try to separate themselves from other children, they also try to take on personality traits different from those around them. And if knowledge and experience is what separates kids and adults, I get it. If they know something no one else knows, it becomes part of their identity. You know, when I was in elementary school, I'd learn things no one else knew, get things no one else had, wear things no one else wore, and became a bit of a hero for it. I'll bet you've done the same thing, Battler. Yeah. There was definitely an age when I wanted to excel in some skill or another. I see, so that's because I was trying to separate myself from being a child, or going through my growing period, in other words. If you put a positive spin on it, the growing period forces you to separate yourself from others, thereby pushing you to gain skills and knowledge no one else has. This is also interesting from a sociological standpoint. Because people hate being like everyone else, they try to learn skills other people don't know. They're doing it again. They're just repeating over and over in different words. In this way, society can acquire the broad range of skills it needs to survive. The quality of the gods' programming is truly surprising. Well, unique personality traits can also be negative, right? Like if, say, everyone in the class was studying hard but I was the only one slacking off, trying to stand out. Okay, that last bit was really true about me. What a surprise. It's only recently that I've been able to thank the middle school teacher who slapped me after school. But, well, I'd try to jump over things no one else could. Sprint as fast as I could, trying to lap those guys with good grades when we did a marathon. I just felt like doing it. It was in my nature that if I couldn't study well, then at least I could get back at them by exercising. I see, so I really did go through a proper growing period. I guess boys really do tend to focus more on physical stuff. But you know, girls of the same age tend to focus more on mental, spiritual things. I'll bet there were groups of girls in your classes that got really interested in fortune telling and their spiritual senses. Yeah, there were. They'd come over asking me for my sign and my blood type, and then they'd laugh, I thought so. It really got on my nerves. No matter which class you go to, girls like fortune telling. Deciding whether your spirit sense is strong or weak, what your sensitivity is, whether you can see the unseeable, that kind of thing definitely happened to me. That's because fortune telling and spiritual senses are things that aren't taught in school. To girls who tend to be more introverted, it's a genre that's easy to build an identity upon, and one that holds a lot of interest for them. Are they just like mass stereotyping everyone? Just like how, when boys enter their growing period, they start acting tough and rebel against adults. When girls enter their growing period, they start getting interested in that kind of thing. Really? Well, I didn't know. So Maria having so much interest in the occult isn't that rare among girls her age? Even if we accept that, I wonder if it explains that creepy dual personality thing. Actually, I think I probably could accept that explanation, more or less. As you just said, becoming an adult means gaining knowledge and experience. So, to gain that, it's necessary for children to learn all sorts of things and break free from childhood. However, there are certain convenient delusions that you see often in the world of children, both now and in the past. Do you know what I mean? You see it all the time in manga and anime, right? It's kind of like that. Like you've got memories from a previous life that start to resurface. Like you're being possessed by the soul of the great something or whatever. Or it could be that a sleeping gene gets awakened. What? Or maybe a sealed power or memory returns. There's all kinds. For some reason, stuff like that's really popular at that age. Why the hell is this conversation taking so long? Why's that? What the hell does this have to do with anything? All of those examples you've just mentioned are illusions that let children immediately add to their sum of knowledge and experience. If a 9-year-old girl says she has a 1,000-year-old witch possessing her, then she gains a 1,009-year-old identity. George, I don't think that's how it works. So basically, studying is annoying. But these delusions are convenient for people who want to brag about having a skill, blah blah blah. So you could brag about something without having to work hard or study. I see, isn't that a kid's greatest dream? Wrap it up. Furthermore, in their desire to separate themselves from being kids, they always project an image of their ideal self, and it's not rare for that desired self to become an alternate personality. La la la, even you, Batlakun, probably had a slightly different personality at home and school, right? It'd probably be embarrassing if your friends at school saw how you were at home. I don't care, move it on. At school, you try to project yourself as you want to be, but at home is where your true self. So in other words, oh my God, stop it. I'm changing my personality depending on the situation. It's called being a human being. Are you trying to say having multiple personalities is actually really common? Yes, it's called being human. A girl who's a fan of the occult might say she's being possessed or awakened. Honestly, there are some kids who change their personality so much it's creepy. No, it's called being human. And some boys do it too, right? Yes, it's called being human. See, I can repeat things too. Guys who say they've blown their top and suddenly turned into some overplayed violent character. I'll bet they think it's pretty cool, but it's painful to watch. Let's sum all this up. No! Let's not! No, just don't care. Simply put, that's right. Identity is an important factor when building up one's sense of self. If you make fun of it, you could actually cause children to go back into their shells. So it's important to go along with them to some degree. Although the broad-mindedness of the parent determines whether they play along in full or not. I don't care about any of this. Aniki, I can't believe you're single. I can. You sound like you've already raised kids through middle school. So, I wonder if Aunt Rosa also knew much about Maria's dual personality. Probably. She knew about it. Just between us, Aunt Rosa really hated it. Oh, she was a douchebag. She said it was unpleasant and that Maria was becoming increasingly isolated from the rest of the class. It's because she's being raised by a douchebag. So anytime Maria started talking about the occult or laughing like a witch, she'd slap her. Oh, see? Douchebag. And it looks like Maria stopped talking that way in front of her. Maybe that thing back there was just a little game from a girl facing her growing period. Just a girl trying to show that she was different and independent by holding interest in witches and the occult. And since she wanted to be different from herself, young as she was switching between her normal personality and the personality of her ideal, a witch. At first I found that very disturbing, but after being lectured by George Aniki, it felt like this was a path everyone walked down one time or another. Okay, move on, come on. I haven't told anyone, but when I was in kindergarten, I joined up with a little gang of kids trying to form an Earth Defense Force, saying we'd help protect peace on Earth. Okay, that's cool. My face turns red when I remembered how, during what we called battle practice, we would chant EDF, EDF. Just like usual, Maria was relaxing, immersed in the TV, oohing and laughing just like any girl her age. But on the inside, another personality, that of the ideal witch she respected and blindly accepted, was sleeping. Whew. But that wasn't anything extraordinary, it was perfectly normal for a girl her age. I've calmed down a little. Good. The shock from my bizarre experience in the kitchen just now is fading away. If I hadn't talked to Aniki and Jessica, I might still be frightened by the idea that an invisible witch is standing right behind me. However, can I really accept that as an explanation for what happened back there? If it had just been Maria, I could have explained it as the fickle delusions of a growing girl. But Genji-san, Kanon-kun, and Kumasawa-ba-chan had also been there. None of them had denied what Maria said. They silently accepted that Beatrice exists. They were starting to feel a little uneasy. Aunt Eva's position was that no 19th person existed, that the crime was an inside job tied to the family quarrels. On the other hand, Aunt Natsuhi's position was that the culprit was hiding somewhere outside the mansion. So she rejected the possibility of an inside job and supported the idea that a 19th person existed. And in the kitchen, Maria and the servants had also supported the idea of a 19th person. But according to them, this 19th person isn't human. They said it was an invisible witch carrying out some mysterious plan. Is there a 19th person or not? Oh. Come on, guys. Is the culprit human or a witch? For some reason, I couldn't just laugh off any of these possibilities. Not even the most ridiculous story about the witch. Jessica, all I know about the story of the witch is that the adults made it up to keep the kids too scared to enter the forest. But is the story different here in the mansion? I feel the same way you do, okay? I think it was just a stupid ghost story that parents made up so their kids would listen to them. But I can't deny that the atmosphere inside the mansion makes it a little hard to say it out loud. After all, Grandfather has proclaimed that Beatrice exists, and because of their position, the servants can't doubt that. Even Uncle Kraus and Aunt Natsahi don't want to get into a fight with him, so on the surface they go along with it. So it's probably fair to say that doubting the existence of Beatrice is taboo to those who live and work in this mansion. Unlike the rest of us who only come here once a year. Is that right? It's way too much talking. Proceed. Story. Proceed. Go on. Do something. Jessica took a deep breath in admiration. What? It looked like Aniki had guessed right. It's just like you say. No one really believes it on the inside, but on the outside they accept that she exists. Oh my god, we've said this 20 times already. It's actually starting to drive me nuts. See, it's just like the way some people are about God. Even if they know God doesn't exist, they feel like it'd be uncouth if they actually said it out loud. How do you think the servants feel about it? I don't care. Are they just going along with it because Grandfather, their employer, says that she exists? Well, I don't really know the details, but between the servants, the story about Beatrice has been treated like a sort of ghost story. Yeah, we know. Remember yesterday when Shannon was talking to us down by the beach? That story about how one night when she was doing the rounds in the mansion, she saw something unsettling. She did say something like that, didn't she? Back then I thought she was just being really nice to help improve Maria's mood, but it felt like she was serious when she said it. That's right, she definitely said it. She definitely said the same kind of thing that Genji and the rest had all unanimously declared back in the kitchen. In addition, some servants have also seen will-o'-the-wisps and glittering butterflies dancing around. Kanon-kun also saw something like that when he went patrolling one night. And recently, you often hear servants talking about strange footsteps heard inside the mansion near midnight. We've whispered together that Beatrice-sama in the portrait sometimes makes herself invisible and walks through the mansion. It happened a while ago, but even I have heard footsteps while patrolling at night that resemble those stories. That's right, she definitely said that. Exactly the same thing that I had been told just now. But there's nothing to be afraid of. Beatrice-sama is another ruler of this mansion, separate from the master. So there's no need to be unnaturally afraid. If you respect her, I hear she won't do anything bad, she says with half her face crushed in. However, she can be quite terrifying if you don't respect her, right? Correct. I've heard that just before I began working here. Someone who spoke badly about Beatrice-sama fell down and said, you know what, I did all this several episodes ago. If you don't respect her, you'll suffer her wrath and get hurt. So, to the servants, Beatrice's existence is just as credible as a story that, if you pull pranks on Inari-san, you'll receive Kitsune-sama's curse. What? That is a really weird way to explain that. Of course, even though everyone accepts that curses and the like don't exist in the modern era, people are still afraid and still have a little respect for them. You often see it when, in a residential area, someone is building a house and they call a Shinto priest for a ceremony to honor the god of that plot of land. You might think that was just a big waste of time and money, but it is said that if the workers don't do that, a big accident will occur, so they never neglect to do it. You also hear about how, if an Inari shrine is carelessly removed during a town replanning, there'd be a curse by Kitsune-sama. I think I might have read somewhere that when the occupying forces were trying to expand an airport, they tried to remove an Inari-san that was in the way. And the workers kept getting struck down by mysterious fevers. Get wrecked. Even in modern cities like Tokyo, it wasn't rare to see modern buildings packed all around an old Inari shrine, leaving the shrine itself untouched. And this wasn't limited to Japan. It's probably similar to how foreigners baptize babies. What? If I remember right, by Christian doctrine, if unbaptized souls have even the slightest amount of sin, they will still go to hell. Putting water on a child's forehead doesn't do anything but make them cry. But if by doing that, parents can prevent their children from going to hell, they will happily go through with that ceremony. How is that even vaguely similar to building modern buildings around an old shrine? What? Battler, you crazy. In short, it's just driving me nuts. Even in this modern society of reason, we are still unable to throw away every trace of belief and fear. You could even say that we accept certain sorts of supernatural things, though in a passive way. Maybe the only difference on this island is that Beatrice is the object of that worship. No! If anything happens that doesn't seem explainable in human terms, it's called the work of Beatrice. I think Shannon-chan said it herself. Windows and doors and locks that were tightly shut would be open the next time you went to check them. Lights that should have been on went out, and lights that blah, 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 blah. Come on. And if I remember, even Jessica was joking about it, saying it was also the work of Beatrice when she couldn't find her bag in the morning. Your memory's pretty good. Well, it's because you say everything 10 times. Normally, you'd say some little imps took them, but on this island, it's Beatrice. Well, it's all pretty stupid, though. This mansion has been standing for about 30 years by now, hasn't it? It's natural for things that old to get their fair share of ghost and occult stories. How is 30 years old? Like the 7 mysteries at a school. But that's where I'll spin the chessboard around. Huh? Same. Simply put, on this island, there's a rule that Beatrice gets blamed for anything that couldn't have been done by humans. Things that humans can't do. How many humans are here? 18. In other words, the culprit is using the rules of this island to make it look like the witch committed the crime. Swear to God. Which proves that they desperately want us to think a 19th person did it. I don't like it. Bold. I don't like it one bit. I don't like you repeating everything. It's just like this episode seems especially bad. The last few episodes have felt especially bad. Being that I'm recording them all together, it's especially prominent. What do you mean you don't like it? Let's assume so. Can we just come on? If it were me, I'd do with even more perfect timing. What do you mean by perfect timing? Well, the crime took place sometime between the middle of the night and dawn, right? We had some people who were talking together until the middle of the night, and some people with night shifts, and some people who Can I have some new information, please? Everyone's alibi is really vague, so there's plenty of room to suspect that the crime was an inside job. George and Nikki, Aunt Eva probably told you too, right? There's a good chance that this crime was an inside job. Yes, I guess. In other words, for fuck's sake, swear to God. If this invisible 19th person really exists and wants to let us know it, the first crime was a complete failure. No, in the first place, they chose the wrong time of day to do it. If this invisible 19th person really wanted to show themselves, they had to make sure that the crime took place under conditions which provided the remaining 12 people were all innocent. As long as there's a single human we can suspect, this 19th person's attempt to highlight their presence fails. That's why near midnight, when everyone's alibis are at their vaguest, the 19th person's existence is also at its vaguest. And yet the culprit chose to commit the crime at that time. By committing the crime then, one of the 18 would obviously be suspected. And yet, someone handed Maria the letter and called themselves a witch, even though everyone denies they did it. Oh my God! In other words, you're trying to say that one of the 18 is trying to make it look like a 19th person called Beatrice exists. Oh my God, it's a pretty crazy idea. I think Mum's theory about someone hiding outside the mansion is a bit more credible. Battler, don't tell me you actually think someone in this room is the culprit. I do. Someone's trying to force us to accept that Beatrice exists. That's right, this whole thing started as far back as the letter last night. I don't have any basis or proof. But with the chessboard turned around, this is my best guess. Seriously, that's too crazy. You sure haven't been reading too many weird detective novels? However, it's an angle we can't ignore. Whether it's a 19th person or not, the culprit's definitely planning something involving the rule about this island. Blah 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 blah. Just now, listening to Battler Kuntuk, I remembered something that's a little disturbing. Something disturbing? Is it something new? Please? Yes. Do you remember? Beatrice's letter. It said that Beatrice was going to collect interest. And by interest it mentioned everything of the Ushinomiya family. Jessica and I thought back on what Maria had read aloud the previous night. Yeah, it said that. It definitely said that. That's the collection of the... Grandfather received the gold and rebuilt the Ushinomiya family. In other words, according to Beatrice, everything... Go, just go. That's pretty scary for a joke, Aniki. You don't mean everything of the Ushinomiya family? Oh my God. Everyone with grandfather's blood flowing through their veins. If you interpret the letter that way, these murders are just Beatrice legitimately collecting interest. If that's the case, these crimes will continue. How the hell are they standing around for 2 hours talking about the same thing? Oh my God. George turned around, looking over the parlor. There were still many people who held the name Ushinomiya, and because Goda-san and Shannon-chan had been killed, we knew that not even the servants were safe. So are they planning to kill us all? I hope so. God, I hope so. But that's weird, George Nissan. In that case, why only 6 people? Why not everybody? Why not everybody? And then we could just move on. At worst, it should have been possible for them to assault everyone while they were sleeping and kill them in a single night. Yes, please. Why didn't they do that? To give me pain, apparently. The special clause, if someone manages to solve the riddle of the gold, their right to the interest will be lost. And remember how the letter ended. It challenged us to solve the riddle of Grandfather's gold. Jesus, it looks like we're finally understanding. Oh my god. In other words, the love of God. On top of that, they're saying that if we just sit around, they'll keep collecting the interest. I just want Beatrice to burst into the room right this second, stab some fucker in the chest, and move the story on. I realize this is all based on several guesses that are way out there. But not everything that happens in this world fits together in a perfect line. Most of the events we don't understand are only individual points. By fitting them into a straight line, we're beginning to understand. When the points at either end of the line are really close, the line itself is more logical and easier to understand. I don't understand a single thing I just read because it has nothing to do with what the hell is going on. And when those points are really far away, the opposite is true. It's the distance between those points that makes us say our guesses are way out there. What are you even talking about? However, if the distances we span are too narrow, that means our thinking will be narrow too. Battler, shut up. Is there a difference between making guesses and reasoning? Yeah, using your brain. Am I just using easily made guesses to try and force this crime into a pattern I can understand? No, that's not it. When you're lost in the dark and searching around with your hands, what you're doing is relying on your imagination and making guesses. What does this have to do with anything? Only imagination can find the points that need to be tied together. Reasoning is nothing more than the act of drawing lines between them. If you can't imagine, you can't reason. What I'm doing now might be way out there, but I'm sure it isn't a mistake either. Only the power of imagination can pull clues out of the darkness. Can the power of an imagination move us forward? And then I can use the power of reasoning to move the story forward. It was a lot like the process of searching out an enemy's weak spot and striking. It's okay if I'm way out there. Find a weak point first. Then we can think about how to strike. Right now is the time to find points we can tie together later. For the love of God. This has quite possibly been the most infuriating episode yet. Yeah, no, okay. I've had enough of this. Alright, I'm going to end this episode here. That honestly, this entire thing, like I've recorded the last couple of episodes together. Usually I just record 2 at once. I've recorded 4 at once this time. And it feels even more prominent recording them all so closely together. In other words, in short, furthermore, in other words, it's driving me nuts. Like, this thing needs edited so badly. Like, the story is really good. I'm really, really enjoying the story. I like the story. I want to know what's going on. I'm really starting to like some of the characters. Like, I love what they've done with Maria so far. And Aunt Natsuhi is great. Eva is great. Battler, I don't like. George, he's boring. Jessica, she's boring. Genji's cool. Kanon's, he's there. Hideyoshi, he could be funny, but they don't really seem to know what to do with him. But the story's great. Like, I really want to know what is going on with Beatrice, and I want to see, like, how she's going to try and claim the rest of the family, I guess, and how they're going to try and solve her riddle, if they can solve the riddle before she kills everybody. But in short, it's driving me nuts. I just wish it had been edited. Like, you don't need to repeat the same thing 10 times just to get some length out of it. Say it once. If it's really important, maybe state it again. Not in the very next sentence. Anyway, in short, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to finish this first chapter at least. I think I'm well over halfway now. Probably getting towards 3/4, I think. At this point, I'm not too sure. But I'm going to finish out at least this chapter for the channel. See where it goes. I have no idea what's coming up. I mean, I've only seen a couple of episodes of the anime and we've well past that now. So I don't know how the chapter is going to end. I assume it'll probably be some sort of cliffhanger, but I'll see what I'll do about Umineko after that. I just want it to be so much shorter. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one. See ya.